everyone, and thanks for joining us today on Teams Talk TV. Our topic for today is resume writing and being interview ready. We will be discussing this with our lovely guest, Ms. Payton Sutton. We are honored to have you with us today. Please go ahead and introduce yourself before we jump into it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Payton Sutton. I am currently an employee at Washington Adventist University, where I work in the Human Resource Department as the Talent Acquisition Specialist. I am also a recent graduate of Temple University, where I obtained a Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies with a minor in General Business, concentrating in Human Resources Management.
Awesome. Wow. What amazing introduction. So, let's just jump right into it. We all know that resumes and, being career ready is sometimes a very stressful thing to go through. I know I've written a couple resumes myself and had multiple drafts. So let's just start off with the basics though. So what are the do's and don'ts of resume writing?
All right, so I don't know where to start because there's literally so many, but I'll try to give you all the ones that come at the top of my head. I know for a fact, looking at resumes every day, almost all day, I see different formatting, different designs, and it really just depends on what type of company you're applying to format and, I guess, quote unquote, design your resume. So speaking from a professional standpoint, working at a university, I would say writing your resume or, typing up your resume, it should always be neat and to the point. A lot of people try to focus on a lot of quantity over quality, making your resume more than one page. And that is the number one don't for a resume. Do not have your resume exceed one page because a recruiter will literally lose interest and it's just going to be too much to read. However, that there is a disclaimer to that. If you have, I guess, 7 to 10 plus years experience, then of course your resume can be longer than one page because all of your experience will show throughout the resume. Another don't is that don't put your address. I see a lot of addresses on resumes. We're not sending you any mail. I would suggest putting your city and state though. That is something to include, but do not include your entire mailing address. What else? Objectives are also very important. Unless you have a unique objective statement, then I would not include one. So we know your objective is to obviously gain this position, whether it's a full-time, part-time internship, whatever it is. So that's why you're applying, right? So I would say, unless it's clear, concise, and to the point, don't even waste your time putting it in your resume because that can also take up space if you have a lot of experience. So also I see a lot of GPAs with new graduates, well, recent graduates, and those who are applying to internships. I would say if your GPA is at least 3.6 or above, you can put it into your resume, but if it isn't, then I wouldn't, because that only discounts you and it actually lowers your chances of being selected over a higher GPA candidate. What else? Your resume should also be saved as a PDF file. This is very, very, very important. A lot of people do their resumes in a Word doc and they send them out in the application software in the Word doc, and that actually makes it distorted. So if you take all this time formatting your resume and save it as a Word doc, it will literally mess up. I'm sorry to tell you. So that is why it is very important to save it as a PDF, because all of your formatting will be saved. It'll be like one picture and it'll be perfect. When you list your job responsibility, this is a big one. I see a lot of 3-word, not even sentences, there's sentence fragments. They're very broad and generic. I would try to, be as, what is the word I'm looking for? Just be more specific in what you actually did on the job. list your accolades from the job. What did you start off as a, I don't want to say regular employee, but did you, get promoted to a manager or a team leader, something like that, but just be more specific. Say if you worked at a restaurant, don't just say, oh, I greeted incoming guests. Okay, but what else did you do? We know that you most likely did that because you worked at a restaurant as a host. Just try to, be clear and concise, but more so specific in what you did in each position. What else? Save your resume as your last name and your first name, not just resume. Please don't do that, because when it is sent through an application tracking system, it is hard to search your resume. And it is much easier when we look at your actual application and then try to pair it with your resume in our system, well, in any system rather. So please do that. That is also very, very important. That helps your resume get pulled if a hiring manager or a recruiter is looking to view your resume and application. Say if you have a good application and then we try to find your resume and we can't because your first and last name isn't on it, we're literally on to the next candidate. So that literally decreases your chance in getting an interview or whatever it is. You should also tailor your resume to the job you are applying to. I cannot stress this enough. A lot of your experience is great, but like I said, people focus on quantity more than quality. Look at the job description. Look at the specific duties that you may be doing in that role and try to implement those skills or whatever they're looking for into your resume. We are moving, in a digital world now, so we don't always look at resumes firsthand. We have, the application system that will pull your resume and search certain skills that you have in your resume, and that'll also pull your resume to the top as well, or your entire application as well. So that's also very important. That's kind of all that I have right now, but I do have a bonus tip about cover letters. A lot of times you'll see that you need a cover letter during an application. If it does not have an asterisk, please don't provide one because it's not going to get read. I'm sorry to tell you, but unless it is absolutely necessary to have a cover letter, you do not have to write one.
Okay, and so every time I see apply to an internship and I see a cover letter is required, I just roll my eyes and I cry and I want to die because I'm like, a cover letter, I get you, because oftentimes they ask for a cover letter, your resume, and sometimes they even ask you for like writing samples or prompts. So then I feel like I'm writing a lot. So but that being said, when people are sending in these applications with so much other information, what should really be in a cover letter that should be different from everything else that they're asking you to submit?
Yes, I love this question because please don't state that I'm like nerdy or whatever, but I love reading cover letters because it gives you a chance to sort of introduce the candidate to you. A lot of people, I would say this is what I would prefer in a cover letter because it keeps a recruiter's attention. One, you should most definitely show or say some type of thing that the company, organization, whatever the case is, does. Like state that you know who and what this company does. Even if that means you have to go to the website, look at their, about section, just state that you are applying to this role, to this company, because you know who they are, you know what they do. That is a very important thing because a lot of people, of course, you just apply to companies because you want a job, because you need money. Of course, everybody needs money, everybody else money. I understand that, but just show genuine interest as much as possible and that you actually know who and what this company is. Then I would move to another paragraph that states, again, your accolades and what you learned in college, special projects that you've worked on from a previous internship, a previous job, showing that it correlates with this specific position and how you can utilize what you did with those previous roles with the current role that you're applying to. That's also important. And then the last paragraph, I like to keep it short and simple. I would restate that I'm interested in the organization, the company, what I plan to learn, how I plan to utilize my skills, expand my knowledge base. And then, of course, always ended with thank you for your time and possible consideration. And then best regards, sincerely, respectfully, your name. It literally can be short and sweet. Just put those specific details in there because, again, it's clear and concise. It is straight to the point.
Okay, thank you. You don't know how much I needed those tips. Thank you for that. And so you kind of addressed it a little bit, but when does information or experience or something of that nature become too outdated to put on your resume?
Yeah, so I would say, okay, it's 2021 now.
Right.
I often see, well, I actually kind of revamp resumes as well, aside from, my job. A lot of students, well, recent graduates from college will have their high school volunteer work, and you don't need that because one, you're out of college now, so that's definitely not needed. You just, I don't know how to explain it. You just should know when something is outdated, like you don't need it anymore. But like I said, once you start building on your resume experience in a certain field, then you should be able to keep it. Because remember, I said if you're 7 to 10 years plus in your career field, you can keep all of that because that's relevant experience. But say if you were working at McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Target, all of that, and now you're moving into jobs with your career field, you don't have to put that in there.
Okay.
You literally don't have to put that in there. And that's what I mean when I say quality over quantity. You can have 2 jobs listed on your resume that pertain to the career field and position that you want to apply to, and list a lot of bullet points saying what you did, those job responsibilities.
Okay. All righty, thank you for that. And then my last question about resumes really is, how often should a person update their resume? Should it be on a yearly basis? Should it be after, say, someone has one job and they're moving to the next? Like, what would you say the standard time should be before somebody goes back and makes those edits to their current resume?
Frequently. Frequently. I even have myself more than one resume for different career fields because I did major in communications, and then I also minored in business, and I'm getting my my master's in the fall. So it's just like, if I want to go into human resources, I have a resume for that. If I want to go into communications, I have a resume for that. But every time you get a new job, like even if you're working 2 jobs at once, I would put that on my resume.
Okay. So my next few questions are about interviews, and I consider myself a people person and an extrovert, and even I get nervous or start to panic or start to freak out. So what are some good interview tips for somebody? And then also group interviews. How the heck does somebody stand out in a group interview? Just go ahead and tell me about that.
All right, so I will start with your first question. I would definitely say, okay, using the STAR method. I don't know if you all know what the STAR method is, but it is basically a way to answer each question in a specific order. STAR, S is for list the situation. What situation are you explaining? The task. What was the task in that specific situation? The action that you took to either complete it, and then what was the result? So I would always go in that order in like my personal interviews, and that's what a lot of companies kind of use interview questions that are correlated with that specific method. So I personally try to just prep myself before any interview, even if it's going on YouTube or Googling what are the most common interview questions, you know? So you can even do that and then think, okay, what would I say for this if a interviewer asks me this question? So then you're going into the interview already knowing you're prepared, you already know what you can possibly answer. That kind of honestly, it should help ease you. Because of course you can be prepared and still be nervous going into the interview because it's a little intimidating, I guess.
Yes.
So I would definitely say just prepare yourself and keep that STAR method in mind, because you're literally stating what happened, the situation, the task you did, how you completed it, and then the result, because that will also show, you know, how you excelled in whatever situation or whatever job duty, special project that you had to take on.
Okay. And so I've been in a group interview myself and ended up not getting the position because I felt like I couldn't chime in or get my point of view across without saying, well, I was going to say what she was going to say, you know? So what are some tips for group interviews?
Yeah, personally, I don't like group interviews. I don't know why that even happens, because when you interview somebody, you want to get to know the candidate personally on a one-on-one basis. So I literally don't know who came up with group interviews. But I would say try to be yourself as much as possible. Because then again, an interviewer is looking at all these different personalities at once. So of course you have to maintain that interview etiquette, but still try to stand out by being yourself. Don't interject per se, because you know you don't want to be rude, but try raising your hand, putting up one finger, excuse me, you know, can I piggyback on that? Just something of that sort. Even if you are going to say, or if you wanted to say something another candidate has said, reiterate that. Like, say it in a different way. Like, it does not matter. Just make sure your voice is heard.
Okay, I needed that so bad. Okay, so what's the best way to for high school students who are applying to college and are asking for letters of recommendation? What is the best way for them to format their resume and highlight everything that they've done in a way that a college isn't gonna feel like it's too much or not enough? I know it's a hard balance to kind of get.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if colleges they ask for resumes in their application.
Sometimes. I know my university did.
Okay, great. So I didn't have to do that, but I did have to do oh my gosh, I feel like I'm so old now. This was like 4 years ago. You know, you had to do your letter just expressing why you want to attend this university. Okay, so I did that, and I tried to implement all of my high school extracurricular activities, even things I did like at church, into that one letter. But I did have a resume fresh out of high school, and I had everything that I did in school and outside of school, and that's like community service, pertaining to, you know, the school hours and things that I did at church, or just anything outside of, you know, school. And also, of course, in school, what orgs were you in? Were you on the honor roll? Just all of that, just format it into, you know, chronological order, especially because I know that a lot of high school students, they like to get in, you know, certain orgs like SGA and stuff. List how many years you were in this specific org. Again, just chronological order, because it just shows progression. It highlights your progression in high school, for those 4 years, even what you were doing, you know, outside of your school activities.
Gotcha. So, what should people ask at the end of an interview when that's happening?
So always ask a question or 2 questions, 3, whatever the case is. I normally, don't laugh at me, but I literally use the same questions after every interview, because I mean, they're generic, and you know, a interviewer, hiring manager, whatever the case is, can definitely answer that. So I use questions like, can you tell me a little bit about the work culture in your department? Or what else? I can't think of it right now, but that's my number one question, because the work culture is important, because I want to know, what is the team like that I may be coming on with? You know, are you guys more teamwork oriented, or does everybody work independently? Ask questions that you genuinely want to know about the specific department or company as a whole. And just like you hear in school, no question is a quote unquote dumb question.
Okay.
So ask anything.
Okay. So, you said earlier you felt old, so hopefully this question makes you feel a little bit younger. So, in this day and age, in social media and Instagram and all of that, what should job seekers stay away from on their social media pages? Because we of course know that when we apply, these organizations and companies are doing background checks and are looking at our social media pages. So, what are some things we should be weary of, and knowing that, oh, this company is going to see this?
Like I tell other people, it really depends on what company you're applying to. And, you know, of course you have to put if they ask you to put any social media link into your application or wherever they're asking, put your stuff on private. Put it on private. If you have, you know, negative things, or that you think may be a little negative, if you have to think about it, delete it. You know, just delete it, because that could cost you, you know, getting an interview, getting an offer letter, or whatever the case is. So just try to be presentable in front of them and on social media.
Okay. Thank you. I know, you know, like I said, in this day and age, we all like to go out and have fun and be cute, but we also want to get to the bag at the same time. So thank you for that. And so, in terms of job searching, what are some good resources and networks that people can use to find a job or to find people to reach out to?
Yes, so LinkedIn is my number one answer. I love LinkedIn. That's even how I found and applied to the job that I have right now. So if you don't have a LinkedIn page, I would say please make one. There are a lot of networks and connections on that specific website. Of course, you can still Google, you know, marketing jobs. I'm just, you know, making anything up. Marketing jobs near me in Maryland, in DC, or specific internships that are opening, but it'll probably still link you to other, you know, third-party websites that a company is using, but a lot of them still use LinkedIn as well. So I would just highly recommend LinkedIn.
Okay.
Sometimes people, like recruiters and hiring managers, are on LinkedIn and they'll make a post and say, I'm opening up a position. If you would like to be considered, send me your resume. Like sometimes you don't even have to fill out an entire application. You can just send your resume to them via LinkedIn.
Oh my gosh, that'd be a great time saver.
That's very, very helpful. That I love LinkedIn personally. What was the other part of your question? I know you asked something else.
That was pretty much it. Just, you know, how to find these positions, and you answered it perfectly. So thank you. And as we wrap up, I just want to ask any last comments or bits of wisdom that you have for people who are going to high school to college, or college to, you know, their career that they've worked so hard to get to. What tips or advice do you have for everybody, no matter their major or field, while pursuing, you know, trying to find a job?
Yeah, so I'll start with high school students. I would say get involved, well, high school and college students, get involved into as many orgs as you can, because the more orgs that you are involved in, the more complex your skills will be. You will gain different interests as well. I know a lot of people that go into college with one major, then by the next semester or the next year, they're switching their major. So it's always good to, you know, learn as much as you can about different things and just tap into different things so you know exactly what you want to do. Or even if you want to do 2 things, 3 things, just stay involved with a lot of stuff. And also educate yourself I know that people look for internships or jobs to gain more experience, but the internet is very powerful. I still look at like YouTube videos on how to do this, or, you know, just anything pertaining to my specific career. So I would say just know how to utilize technology, stay involved, and also being involved will also give you a lot of network and connections. So that's another reason why I would say get involved into a lot of things.
Okay. Well, all righty. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's episode. And I would like to thank you, Ms. Sutton, so much for being with us. And for our viewers, please check out inreachinc.org for more information related to this topic, upcoming events, and more information about things going on in Prince George's County. Thank you so much to our guests again. It was such a pleasure having you, and we will see you all next time.
Thank you so much. I had fun.